We each took the equivalent of 5 songs, 20 minutes, to try to tell a little bit of the story and appreciation we have for a station that we've come to call home. And there are so many wonderful contacts between all of us that have been on this stage tonight. But I thought I should try to paint a kind of a chronologic order to the music. And though that was like a preface in a sense, you know, about how meanings do change, there's a line in it that really speaks autobiographically of Betty and I. Moving here in the early mid-70s, and the only house, the only piece of property that made any sense to us, we were total devotees of Helen and Scott Nearing, and we moved here to get close to the land, and we read The Good Life, and we brought our 3 children, and became as close to farmerettes as we could be. We weren't real farmers, but we had chickens and ducks and pig and sheep and a great garden and a great bunch of friends. And Betty tells the story of how times were so tough there in the community that for excitement she would plop the kids into a shopping cart and take them through the 5 and dime store. And that was the essence of the cultural experience here, pretty much. Or actually, culture has a true north that has nothing to do with the high price spread. So the depth to which we became involved in the community was very important to us. Betty started a nursery school, and from there we rescued half of a hen house and turned it into a partial animation studio and a recording studio. It was pretty. The way we got the recording equipment up to the 3rd floor of the hen house was Pete Clapp came from Blue Hill Garage with his tow truck, and we threw the cable over the pulley on the 4th floor, which used to haul feed up for the chickens, and wrapped it around the console and pulled it up at the 3rd floor, and we built a studio up there, and that's where we had the good fortune to meet David and work with Tim on a couple of his albums, and it was like, I knew what a studio should be like on the inside. So on the outside, I didn't really care. We just put up framework and we put a whole bunch of, soundproofing stuff. And then on the inside, I had all this wall-to-wall loop carpeting, that ugly kind of get high and you won't notice kind of carpeting. And then it really worked well as a sound absorber. It worked so well that when you would open the door to the studio, it would go, It was like stepping into a spaceship on the 3rd floor of a hen house on the coast of Maine. But somehow the connection with the arts began, and everybody became part of the arts at the hen house. Karen Frangulis sang on David Mallett's first album. Everybody sang on everybody's album. I played instruments that I had no business playing because I was the only guy around who had the audacity to try it. And yet, it was all magical. Those first 3 albums of David's are just such a delight. And the couple of albums that I did out of the hen house were so great. But what I'm leading to is that in the midst of all this was Reg Bennett's idea of creating a radio station that would speak to community. Now, Reg was a good, very staunch Christian. He was a policeman in Ellsworth, and he had really been changed by the kids that he had to monitor in Ellsworth. And he knew that something had to happen, something that built community. And so he and his wife, Betty, did what they could for kids, but he kept coming back to the hen house where he served as an engineer. And I know I'm waxing a little long, but I got to tell you, Reg Bennett knew nothing about engineering. We'd give him a piece of equipment that was malfunctioning, and an hour and a half later, he'd come back down and we'd plug it in and be working. We'd say, Reg, this is how he got by for so many years. We'd say, Reg, that was great. Finally, I asked him, did you ever get an engineering degree? He said, no, I just prayed on it. He said, God told me to move that wire. And so his connection to me began actually because of this song, which raised so much money for so many people, and still raises, I think, hope for many people who want to get married. Well, I'm now to be among you at the calling of your hearts. Rest assured this troubadour is acting on my part. The union of your spirits here has caused me to remain. For whenever two or more of you are gathered in my name, there am I. And there is love. Well, a man shall leave his mother, and a woman leave her home. They shall travel on to where the two shall be as one. As it was in the beginning, is now, and till the end. Woman draws her life from man and gives it back again, and there is love. Yes, the marriage of your spirits here is called